We're coming to you again from Texas High School Coaches Association Coaching School, and I'm able to sit down with the head football coach at Crosby High School, who's a 5A Division I school now, Coach Jerry Prieto. So, Coach, thank you for taking the time here.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Well, this is an interesting time of the year. We've done a lot of work through the summer, and ball's right around the corner, and you guys have had a lot of success here, being in the semifinals in 21, state finalist, state final game in 2020. Obviously, looking to take your team all the way through the season again and get into that last game and winning it all. But that starts with camp. And, while we always spend that time putting things in the spring, summer, all year long, it's that new season, it's that new start, and you want that day one of camp really to be that momentum now that starts you guys through the season. So for you guys, what are the things you do as the head coach and together as a staff that you guys set up your team for success?
This will be year 4 for us, and so the seniors to be were freshmen, so we've had them since they were freshmen, and man, those kids are great kids. They're great leaders. They lead our team. They lead our summer. But we grind them pretty hard while we have them. We did 4 weeks in June, took a week off. We did 3 weeks in July. We do about an hour and a half workout, and then we do our hour of sports specific. And we have our junior high and high school all there together. We want our kids. We're a single horse town, and our kids grow up looking to be a Cougar one day. They grow up looking at those older kids and like, man, I want to be. There's kids right now that are looking up, I want to be Kyron Miles one day. I want to be Braden Womack one day. And so, we let those kids work together all summer, and we're going to grind them through July. And then we're going to give our older kids that first week of August off, because we'll start with our 9th graders August 1st, and since we did spring football, and then we'll start with our 10th through 12th graders August 8th. So we'll give them that week from August 1st kind of off. We'll have some open weight room stuff, but nothing real structured, just to let their bodies rest a little bit and just kind of let that suspense build up as we head into the first day of practice on August 8th with our older kids.
That's an interesting approach. I mean, it's I'm sure those guys are itching to get out there too,
yeah,
right? They see the communities around them. They're out working, doing those things. I'm sure it builds that anticipation and maybe that excitement even more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And like I said, when they're with us, we're grinding them pretty hard, and we're going to give their bodies a little bit of chance to rest. But just like you said, we're going to build that excitement and anticipation, and, we're going to hit the thing running from day one.
With working with the younger kids, I like that approach. And, we've talked on this podcast with coaches who work in their younger kids, their freshmen, right in with the varsity guys. And I do think it gives you the ability to get to know them and know what's coming up through your system. How do you feel that's been an advantage for you guys in working this way? Yeah,
I've been a part of multi-school districts and been a part now of a single horse town, and man, to me it's a huge advantage. And if you don't use that advantage, then I think you're really missing the boat when you have the opportunity to work with the junior high kids the way we do. And it just gives us the opportunity, one, to learn the kids' names and see the kids move, evaluate the kids as we're moving up, try to make sure they're in the right spots, position-wise, offensively and defensively. We understand there's going to be a huge physical change from a lot of these kids from 7th grade to 11th grade, but trying to get them in the right spots early on, create some of that excitement, but also, too, getting them around those older kids and letting them see exactly how we work, let them see how we're coached. We're going to coach our all-state returning starter just like we're going to coach our incoming 7th grade kid, and they get to be a part of that. They see that there's no favorites, that we're going to treat everybody the same, that our expectations are the same for everybody, and it's good for both of us, and we're going to put our hands on them from the time we get them in 7th grade till the time they leave. So.
What does that install look like for the young guys that's starting on August 1st compared to what's going to happen with your older guys starting on August 8th?
Yeah, our younger guys, they're going to get similar structure in the sense of a practice and a lift, but they're going to get offense on one day, and then they'll get defense on the next, and offense on one day and then defense on the next. So we'll focus on one side of the ball with them and put every single freshman, they're going to Monday, first day of practice, August 1st, they're all going to work offense. So we'll meet with them before, and we'll have about a 25-30 minute meet, and then we'll go out and we'll have our hour and a half practice, and then they'll lift after that, and they'll get about a 30-minute lift in. And then they'll go home and do it all again the next day, except they'll be on the different side of the ball. They'll play defense.
Looking at how your staff handles that, again, that first week compared to what's going to happen the next week, is there any change in the style that they're going to coach, especially knowing these are brand new kids to us in terms of, they're coming into the high school now. We're going to learn to get to know them a little bit better. I know you said you're working with 7th grade, but, looking at how these younger guys coach to how these older guys are coached, what's the changes or differences you see there with how the staff handles that?
Yeah, we really don't coach them any differently. We run the off seasons with them in junior high, so we run our off season with our junior high kids just like we do with our high school kids for the most part. It's a little bit condensed, but how we coach them, the pace and the tempo and the expectations, those get set in junior high, and we carry them forward, and we don't really coach them any differently. Our expectations are still the same of them. They've been hearing the verbiage for a year or two, and so I think it's helped us out a lot, and it's helped us to be able to do a little bit more with our lower levels than maybe some other people can do.
I know in talking to you before we clicked record here that there's a ton of value for you in everything that happens in the weight room, that's a big component of your program.
Yes,
and you
sir.
just mentioned it starts in 7th grade. It's a 7 through 12 program for you. For the varsity guys, it's 4 days a week. And we'll get into it too, that you guys actually do a lift, a little bit of a lift on game day as well. But looking at and kind of going through that, what that looks like 7 through 12, the introduction to those guys, take them in the junior high, those youngest guys, those 7th graders. What's the workout program look like for them so that they can start to prep to be, the grown-up Cougars?
Yeah. During the season, those kids, just because of schedule-wise and everything, they're going to get anywhere from 2 to 4 lifts a week during the season. In the off-season, though, they're going to lift 5 days a week, just like we do with our older kids. Half of the work is going to be in the weight room, and the other half's going to be outside doing some type of agility work that kind of pairs with the work they're doing in the weight room. And then in the summer, we're going to do our 4 days a week. So the physical confidence that those kids are going to gain and the body changes that a lot of them are making already is pretty impressive to watch. We have some good kids in Crosby, good hard-working kids. They want to be coached hard. They want to be pushed hard, and that makes it a lot more enjoyable. And we're actually going to start this year. We've never done it before, and we're going to do a pre-athletics in 6th grade. And so we had kids pick either pre-athletics or regular PE, and so there will be a little bit more involved with the pre-athletics in 6th grade and teaching them, proper technique and getting them dressing out and being held accountable for those things, all those things that we're going to expect when they show up in 7th grade, whether it's playing football or volleyball or whatever sport they end up.
So the 5-day-a-week schedule, that's something 7 through 12 that you do. What's that look like in terms of the amount of time you're spending on each day, those 5 days of the week?
We're about 25 minutes in the weight room and about 25 minutes outside, and then we will finish every workout with the 400. No matter what the workout is, and doesn't matter if they were started in the weight room or if they are end outside or whatever the case may be, we're always going to line up as a team, and we're going to run a 400 at the end, and they're going to know their time, and they're going to write the time on their chest. We wear just a plain white shirt in the off season, and when they get a better time, they cross out that time, they write another number, and there's some other things we do with that shirt, but we want to find out who we can count on in the off season. When things are tough, when they're dead tired, who's going to go out there and push themselves as hard as they can in that 400? And it's not always about being, the first one, but did you give everything that you physically could have during that 400? Well, you're a kid that we can count on. And we know then in the fourth quarter of a tough football game, you're not going to quit on us.
In terms of the focus each day of your off season, those 5-day weeks, what does it look like, Monday through Friday, and in general, the work they're going to do, the focus on that particular day?
Our strength coach is going to separate it into, upper body, lower body days. Some of the lifts that we really focus on, power clean, front and back squat, deadlift, bench press, and then we'll have some auxiliary stuff that they're going to do. We're always going to work on hip flexibility every day and explosion every day. And so some of the auxiliary stuff they're going to do even in the weight room, whether it's jumping over or jumping on plyo boxes or what that is, we're going to work on a lot of flexibility stuff with our auxiliaries and a lot of explosion.
Moving into the season, then that becomes a 4-day work week. So
yes, sir.
Lay out that 4-day game week for us.
Mm-hmm. So Monday after practice, all our kids are all going to lift. So our freshmen are going to lift, our JV is going to lift after practice, and our varsity is going to lift after practice. Tuesday is the same. The freshmen, the JV, and the varsity will all lift after practice on Tuesday. Wednesday, no one will lift. Thursday, our lower levels will lift because it's a game day for them. All our kids lift on game days. And then Friday, the varsity will lift because it's a game day, and our lower levels will lift and watch film from the night before. And then on Saturday, we'll bring our varsity kids back up, and they'll have a lift session on Saturday.
The game day lift.
Yep.
That's been around for some time. At one point or another, when I was a head coach, we would do that lift. I know at a couple of the programs I was at. That's a little bit different. There seems to be always some hands raised in the room, whether that's the meeting room with the coaches or the players. So explaining that and selling that so guys understand this is why we're doing, this is how it works, and this is where the advantage comes from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we first came in, obviously they hadn't done it before. And for us, it was, no matter who we play, no matter what X's and O's are going on, we want to be the most physical football team on the field. We want to be the toughest team on the field. We want to be the most disciplined team on the field. And so we kind of took that approach with those guys to this game day lift. Hey, your opponents aren't lifting right now. We're tougher than the guys that we're about to play tonight. We're lifting right now. We're getting stronger. We're going to be more physical because we're going to put the time in the weight room. And we're not scared. We're not afraid to lift on game day. We crank the music up, and really the intensity of our game day lift really rivals our off-season lifts. The kids have really taken to it. They've taken that mindset, and, they get after it. And if their teammates aren't getting after it, they go get after their teammates in the weight room. And, there's a team accountability deal that's going on that's pretty special.
At what time of day does that lift happen for?
That is around our athletics period is usually around 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. In terms of, they have that lift, you want to make sure these guys are recovered, fueled up, hydrated, etc. What kind of focus do you put on that to make sure those guys are doing those things? Yeah,
I think we constantly talk to them about that during the week. If you're trying to hydrate and fuel your body on game day, well, then you're way behind. This is something you've got to do each and every day. When we're going to tear your body down. And your job is you've got to go make sure you hydrate, you got to go make sure you eat, you got to go do your schoolwork, and then you've got to get sleep. And so, you got to do all those things, and you got to have your priorities in line because there's a big time commitment that it takes to be a champion and to be successful in whatever you do. It doesn't matter. And so you've got to do those things starting on Monday to make sure that you're good to go and your body's good to go on Friday.
So, Coach, for you, in the time you started here, you're transitioning. You were a 10 personnel team, and like a lot of teams, finding ways to add back in the tight ends, add in the fullbacks, the kind of stuff that warms my heart for sure. Talk to us just about that transition and why now, what kept you from doing it before?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why we hadn't really done it before is we just didn't feel like we had some of those players when we first got here. We were just installing really, first year is kind of the base offense and really just trying to master some of those plays and get really good at some of those plays at first. But we do feel like we have some kids right now. We have a kid that's a senior to be that I think is going to be really, really good in this role. And I think we have some younger kids in all our grade levels coming up. And I just think it adds some versatility to what we do. We love to play fast. We love to be physical. We love to come at you and hit you in the mouth. Everybody that plays us knows that you better be able to stop counter. We're going to run a ton of counter. We're going to run power, inside zone, outside zone, along with all the other stuff that we do. But this just gives us, I think, another dimension. We have some kids coming up that are going to be able to put their hand in the ground and play tight end. They're going to be able to back off the line, play some H-back, and they're also going to be able to spread out and be a receiver in a 2x2 or a 3x1 situation. And so I just think it's going to give us some big advantages where we can play fast, we can get in a bunch of different formations, create some gaps with the defense, maybe get some guys putting their hand in the dirt or up on the line of scrimmage that are, used to playing off in space and getting into coverage. And so hopefully it's something that gives us an advantage here moving forward offensively.
Yeah, with the players, you certainly start to look for those opportunities and build around them. But as you add them in, if you were a 10-personnel team, you didn't necessarily have that tight ends, fullbacks, H-back type of coach. How do you handle that transition? Is that a position you add, or is that added to somebody else's responsibility?
It's I've added it to mine, and so I've taken over that tight end H-back position. In my playing career, I played quarterback up until like my sophomore year of high school, and then I played tight end, and that's what I played in college. So hopefully I can coach the position a little bit, and but yeah, that's what I've added that one to my plate.
Yeah, and it's there are those considerations because now we got to get those guys some time and individual, and those guys are usually those hybrid types you mentioned. The guy who can line up as a guy with his hand in the dirt off the ball in the backfield, or even split out as a number 2. And those hybrid guys, you look in today's football, there was a time where the tight end was just that extra tackle who,
yep.
You threw 10 plus 10 on his 78 or whatever it was, and now he's eligible, but he really wasn't going to get the ball a lot. Now these guys have become so dynamic in our offenses. They do provide an advantage, especially because we've moved from that time where the first page in a defensive playbook was lined up against a I formation, pro I formation, and then it transitioned to the time where you usually see 2x2 spread is what that first page, that base defense is lined up against.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and zone read and all that stuff, guys have gotten some pretty good plans for those over the years. They've seen it a lot more now, and you do start to see where you start to throw a tight end in there, and guys haven't seen that as much, and some of the adjustments might not be as sound as they used to be, just because there's a lot more 10 personnel and different things like that, and people throwing RPOs and slinging out now screens and bubbles and everything like that if the box is loaded. And so it's a little bit different, something that we haven't done that much. We did dabble into it a little bit last year and hoping to expand on it more this year.
It becomes a situation too, I think. You find those hybrid athletes. Once you start using it, you start to see more and more of those guys. That guy who's a little bit bigger, but he's still really athletic, and those guys translate to the other side of the ball too. And you mentioned in your 3 safety defense that you do have your 3 linemen and that hybrid guy who can walk up to the line of scrimmage, but it can also play out there in space. And it's an advantage to have those types of guys, right? It makes your defense more flexible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it helps those kids get on the field and be some big-time contributors for us. But, yeah, the more versatile a kid can be, if he can go and play in different spots and be really effective in different spots, it kind of opens up so much that you can do, and you can kind of hide some of your deficiencies when you have some of those kids that can do a lot of different things like that.
Definitely. And flipping over to the other side of the ball, the 3 safety defense has definitely started to be something people are more and more interested in. I know in my work at CoachTube, I start to see more and more resources being put up with the 3 safety defense. Yep. What do you like about it in defending today's offenses? And I'm sure at the high school level you see more than spread. You're going to at times maybe see a wing tee or an option team, or as you get into the playoffs, you might line up against some things you didn't see all year long. So what do you like about it that gives you some advantages?
Yeah, I think it's versatility. Versatility on how and where and who you can bring pressure with and from, and also versatility in coverages. And you are starting to see a little bit more of it, but you still don't see a ton of it. Our defense coordinator has been doing this for a long time. He's been running the 3 high safety stuff for a long time. And I think that's it. When I started looking at it, we hired him last year as our defensive coordinator, Coach Poth. And when I was interviewing guys and looking at stuff on the board and had them up on the board and had some pretty extensive interviews, I started to think, what would I do to try to prepare for this? And It's difficult. It's difficult. There's a lot of pressure. It's an aggressive style of defense, so it fits our mold. We coach aggressively, we play aggressively. We're in off season. Everything that we do, we want to do fast. We want to do aggressive. We go for it a lot. We try not to punt very much. We go for two. We do all these things. So that defensive system that he brought, the 3 high safeties, the pressures, and all those things, it just really fit our whole mold as what we want as a whole program.
In your decisions to go for it more, what kind of things do you look at, both, I guess, in planning for a game and knowing, like, here might be our situations this week, versus also those things that just come up and maybe even that feel for it, or I don't know if you put some kind of analytics behind it, even if they're the simplest. What for you helps you make those decisions on let's be aggressive and go?
I think part of it is just kind of that mantra that we instill in our kids. We're going to go out and we're going to be tough and we're going to go out and win games. We're not going to be afraid to lose games. And I think it's just a mindset. And when you want the kids to do that, then you have to coach that way as well. And part of it, too, is, man, we just freaking hate to punt. We hate sending a punt team out there. And, if there's any chance, and sometimes we kind of go into the game and we tell the kids, we're not going to punt this week. We're going to go for it anytime. Defense, you need to be ready. You need to be ready at any point. We could be 4th and 15. We're backed up at our own 10. We're going to go get it, and we're going to go for it. And if somehow we don't get it, y'all need to be ready to come in and get a stop and at least hold them to a field goal or get a turnover. And, our kids have really bought into that. And sometimes you can probably, I'm sure we have some critics in the stands that are like, what are these guys doing? But, it just kind of fits the whole mold of our program and what we're trying to establish with these kids and what we have established with these kids.
Yeah, well, Kevin Kelly at Pulaski Academy in Arkansas made it popular, and you see people – I've seen people try to do that live in games where I've been at watching high school ball in Ohio or on TV, et cetera. And I think you hit the nail on the head in saying that it doesn't matter what the people in the stands think. Might matter if an administrator doesn't understand what's going on. Well, that's another conversation. But your guys believing in that, knowing, hey, this is just the game we play. This is how we do it.
Yep.
This is the decision that was made. We didn't execute on. Oh, now we got to go on D. With your guys and instilling that as you got to Crosby, I'm sure that was a change.
I think a big part of it, and it took a little while for us per se, was a big part of that is the way you run your off season. Are you going to have an off season where kids are comfortable and kids are kind of just going through the motions and they're okay with just getting through a workout? Are you going to have an off season where you're pushing your kids to the limit and past what they think they can do? You're developing leaders with your upperclassmen. You're putting them in uncomfortable situations. You're having them where they're having to overcome adversity. They're having to be successful at things when they're really, really tired. They don't feel good. They're sore. So if you're doing those things and teaching them how to adapt and to overcome and come together as a team and a family in the off season, then they're much more apt to be successful at those things when they arise in the fall.
Do you guys work situations in practice where you're simulating that, where you guys, hey, we didn't get it on 4th down, you're backed up, you got to stop them on these 3 plays or whatever you give them?
Yes, sir. We work a ton of situations, and we work a ton of situations in spring ball. And so we'll go back through the year and we'll look at, what situations did we not handle very well. And we make sure that we hit all those in live situations in spring ball. And we'll also go back and look at some of the situations that we did good. We'll do those in spring ball too, some. But we're going to make sure we get it all filmed and we teach through all of it. Hey, this is why we didn't handle this situation very well in the fall, and this is where it hurt us in games. We'll go through it. We'll correct the mistakes, and hopefully we do a little bit better in the spring. But even if we don't, get it on film. Look, this is why it hurt us in the fall. This is why it's still hurting us. Here's what we have to do to be successful at it. And then we'll come back to it later on in the spring if we're still struggling with it.
Yeah, I know we all like to use a template of what our practice week looks like, and there's always that value in providing that routine. But in looking at that, do you apply that kind of situational correction periods of stuff that you feel like, hey, this last game, these things didn't go well. This is going to be the focus this week?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, and when you're in the season, we have a general structure, but we're also going to have some things that are going to be, game plan specific, correcting mistakes that we made, and that's why we really like to play, some of the best teams in the state in our non-district schedule, no matter how it comes out for us, because we're going to figure out, what we're good at. We're going to figure out what we're not good at, and we really want to figure out what those deficiencies are weeks 1 and 2, as opposed to weeks 11, weeks 12, weeks 13 in the playoffs.
Right. Well, Coach, you've shared some incredible stuff with us here today. Certainly packed this episode with some information. But last question is in looking at all you do as a coach, on and off the field, what's the one thing you do that gives your guys the winning edge?
I think, and not just me, but our staff and my wife too, this is a whole family thing, is I think the biggest thing that we have done is really create a true family atmosphere. These kids know that we love them. They know we're here for them. They know they can call us at any time. If they're dealing with any issues, they know they can come to us. We have them over at my house for meals. I know other coaches have them over at their house for meals. Some of the kids, if we go for somewhere for a day, it's a player that comes and watches my dogs and takes care of the house and everything. And, my kids have a incoming 8th grader and an incoming 6th grader. They've grown up in a field house, and they know every single player. And my wife's up there all the time when she's not working, and we do different leadership stuff with them. But it's just a whole communal atmosphere that myself and my wife and our coaching staff and that we've created here, and they've really taken to it, and we're a tight-knit group, and I think that makes it to where our kids, they don't play for themselves, they don't play for stats, they're not playing for stars, they're playing for the guys next to them. And when we get into the playoffs, they're playing so that those seniors' careers aren't ending. They're playing so they can have one more week together with their brothers, and it's made it a pretty special ride for us.
It's definitely been great to sit down and talk with you here. I'm sure we have some guys who want to follow what you're doing, maybe connect with you in the off season. What's the best way to do that?
Probably email. I'm on Twitter. I have no clue what my Twitter handle is.
I'll find it and we'll put that
there
in
you
the
go.
show
So I am on Twitter, but the email, Twitter, a lot of guys have my number. Just give me a call. And we had some coaches out in spring ball, and they came by and just spent some time and watched spring practice and meetings, and we go visit some people too, and we're always trying to figure out what's a better way to do something, what's a more efficient way to do something, how can we improve on what we're doing or how we're coaching. And so we're always looking to improve ourselves. So nobody invented anything that they're doing. We're all taking it from other people and trying to make it better. So we're always open.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time out here at Texas High School Coaches Association Coaching School. Congratulations to being named on the 40 under 40 by Dave Campbell football here in Texas, and certainly best of luck to you and the Crosby Cougars in 2022.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Coaches, be sure to check out our show notes for some related content here to this episode. Follow all we're doing at coachingcoordinator.com, and follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.